Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls they accepted me.
Hi, welcome to the Fluid Voice. I am Ozma In The Dark. I am here as usual with the co-hosts, Christy. I utilize she, they pronouns for the purposes of world domination. I've got my logo in back and a gray shirt of some sort. Anyways, Christy, how are you doing?
Hi, Christy. I'm doing well. I utilize she, her for the purposes of being able to sleep at night, really. And I'm off screen, but I'm a redhead with a 57-year-old redhead. But still darn cute.
I'm also here as usual with Perfict. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, using he, him pronouns without any specific purpose behind it. And
fair.
Represented by the blue plumaged owl of wisdom.
And tonight, our guest is Jensen Caraballo, an Advocacy and Development Associate for the Center of Disability Rights. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I use he, him pronouns. Actually, I'm okay with any pronouns. Okay. And I'll pass it back.
Okay. And tonight, because I was buried last minute with things and didn't come up with good suggestions beforehand, and worked through things mentally. The topic is life, disability, and the pursuit of happiness. I get pretty sure I've mentioned them on the show. I tend to follow a modified version of the social model of disability, but not completely human rights model, but like social model is easier to explain to people and have non-disabled people empathize with more, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, any one of you can bring up starting thoughts or other such thing about disability and life and thought processes.
Generally, I just tell people I can walk, but I fall down a lot.
I mean, that is an option.
You might as well just see what's going to happen here. Don't worry if I do, unless I ask. It's, yeah, because explaining it became a chore.
I mean, fair. It's not your job to explain all this stuff to people. Perfect. Our Jensen, either of you. Just initial thoughts about disability and life and stuff.
I would say, let's see, what can I say? This thing we call life is magical and disorienting at times. It's full of amazing things and delightful pleasures and incredible adventures. That's what I would say about life. About disability, I have my own definitions of disability. I'm sure we all have definitions. And I'm sure there are medical and academic type definitions we can use about disability, but I have my own. I define disability as a natural and normal part of life. And this is coming from someone with what is considered a rare disability.
What is your disability? I didn't ask. If that's okay, you don't have to mention if you don't want to. I was just curious since you brought it up.
Yeah, I have spinal muscular atrophy type 2. It's a rare disease that affects my muscles.
Okay. I'm less aware of that one. I'm vaguely aware of cerebral palsy, but that's because that's more of a general term. And obviously, I would say technically I would consider myself to have the... I want to downplay any element that I would call physical disability with me, because it's just sleep apnea, which... Yeah, disability is ultimately, it's on a long enough timeline, chances are you'll end up disabled in some way, shape, or form. Like, that's part of why I like non-disabled as a term. But I think Judy, I feel like Judy Human brought that up at some point.
I don't just generally make a distinction because I don't like to be. It's one of those bits of language where I'd like to be inclusive of everybody, but I'll call myself disabled, not because of autism, but because literally I have a genetic condition, 2 of them. That puts me in constant pain. The other one makes it so I fall down a lot.
Yeah, and the sleep apnea is one of those complicated things because if I don't use a CPAP, I am perpetually exhausted.
Yeah.
I've used a BiPAP myself. A long time ago, I used to use a BiPAP, which is a CPAP, but I think it's there's a difference between the BiPAP and the CPAP. Okay. I'm not sure what the difference is, but
it has to do with how the pressure goes.
Okay.
Oh, is one more mimicking breathing in and out, and CPAP is the constant pressure, or?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because I couldn't wear the mask, so I had to lose weight. Which is the only other option.
Yeah, although that wouldn't have helped, or that probably wouldn't have helped me because
No.
some of mine is cerebral because of the traumatic brain injury I had a few years ago. So sometimes my brain just forgets to breathe.
No, I want to be slightly clearer on that. Sleep apnea as a thing is absolutely true. One of the things that can bring it on, but not the thing that causes it, is being more than 100 pounds overweight. So I lost 100 pounds.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a factor, although sometimes it's harder to lose weight if you have no energy to exercise. So sometimes it's a... I mean,
It's a trap.
sometimes it is. I just, I don't like certain... I don't like certain attitudes that put everything on individuals, where it's like, oh, you could stop being disabled if you tried hard enough.
No, I'm really directly not saying that.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I wasn't trying to say that you're saying that. I just it came to mind with what you said.
I have one of the trending arguments for some reason on Twitter has to do with whether or not autistic people should be considered disabled. Somebody just knocked at my door.
Well, on that very theme, see, here's my thing. You know, my thing is about the language involved and that sort of thing. We all are sitting here and talking about disabled, and we know what we mean by it. But we also use that word to mean disabled. And there should be a word that means came into it with a different set of abilities that goes with disabled, and then there should be a word for both of those together when we're talking about the problem of, I mean, no one cares whether you were born with no legs or you lost your legs. You're in a wheelchair and looking to get into the building. Okay. Those two groups of people go together in that instance. Yes. But then there is a distinction and a difference between them in other cases, and the language simply gets all fuzzy and doesn't do that.
Well, I mean, so I think part of the reason is... Oh, sorry.
And well, the thing is that, you see, that's my autism, is that that's an itch that I always need to scratch. I need to talk to you about it when the subject comes up, because there it is. It's my little obsessive compulsive.
Well, I mean, the thing is, a lot of our language, and this is my opinion about this, is that it's centered around human beings supposing to be a particular way. A lot of stuff in at least American society and language has white cishet non-disabled man in good shape as the default. Yeah. In terms of what's supposed to be able to be done, just everything, and it's such a narrow way of looking at the world. When, like, in some ways, there are ways to make distinctions that aren't really necessarily always important, because in terms of when you ended up in a situation, the fact of the matter is you're in the situation now. I don't know, maybe that's just the way my brain works.
No, it's a reasonable thing. I mean, I was aware I was going to grow up and have problems. This was a given from the beginning, and I mean, it's something that's visible on an infant. So when Sai was born, first thing I looked for, and it's like, yep, got it too. Damn it. So the constant pain thing's going to be something for them too. And is now.
Well, yeah, and that's, I mean, some of that is like there are aspects of society that are more difficult, and I think add to the element of shame.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, because for some reason people are afraid of, because the thing is, I think on some level people know that they could end up disabled by random chance or through any number of things, and for some reason that scares the average person. And I think it relates to the societal shame, and just people don't want to make places, like, I get the impression that people don't want to make places accessible a lot of times because they don't want to be reminded that disabled people exist.
Right.
Because it scares them. And I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It scares them because they see disabled people as lesser, and it scares them to become one of those lesser beings or whatever.
Yeah.
At least this is one of those things where it's just my thought process, and I'm like worried that I'm just talking over everyone else's thoughts. I've been talking too long. I'm scared now.
Well, some of it. At some point during this, I do want to discuss what is actively going on with the Twitter conversation, because I've been involved in it. But yeah, I mask as much as possible, which I guarantee is not easy for everybody, or possible for everybody. When I perform, it's in I have a very specific, and I am told very unusual stance on stage, because I want to make sure I don't fall down. That's seems to be number one about performing. Don't fall down unless you mean to. And it's yeah, I've started to become. My sister had MS and died of it. For the record, my other sister. Sorry, I have three sisters.
That's one more than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of 5 kids, I'm one of 3 surviving. I'm the oldest. It's First Tinder date I went on.
How did it go?
Badly. Actually went fantastic up until the part where she saw me limping.
Okay.
And then we had the coffee and we were talking for like 2 hours and then went to dinner and we were having a great time for 3 hours. So like an all day thing. But that's too much sitting for me. And I needed to go to the bathroom, so I was limping. And she seemed angry when I got back.
Angry?
Angry. Like, is this something I was supposed to disclose?
Hey, I don't know. I will mention M pointed out a good thing in chat. Human fragility is scary to those who view it as evidence of failure or sin.
Yeah, that's actually a fairly big deal with people.
Yeah, I never understood.
Okay, you protect your family, but it's very hard to. Life's complicated, and it's impossible to really, really actually protect them from most of the things that are really important. And human beings have wired into them a need to. They are compelled to ritual. You perform rituals when the whatever it is, the more important it is to you, the outcomes of it, and the less control you have, the less individual control you have. Which is why in sports, when people are playing sports professionally, the outcome is terribly important to them. It makes a difference to their living and the personal value that they see in themselves. And lots of things are terribly important dealing with it. And they have very little control because they're only a member of the team. So they start having rituals about not washing their socks or whatever. And people who have even less control, who are just watching the sporting events on television, start having rituals about things which influence whether or not their team wins somehow. It's all just magical. People are compelled to ritual. And one of the things that people do that is sort of the contract that they're viewing as rituals that they do is they go to church. I go to church every Sunday. My family will be fine. And so when somebody else's family is in some way not fine, it's because they didn't do all the rituals right, obviously, because I have to have control in this way.
This is there's a novel I think everybody should read, and I mean everybody. It's called House of Stairs. It's by Henry Sleator. Sleator. And it's not difficult to get, but it's not easy to get.
House of Stairs by taking notes. What's the name of the author?
Henry Sleator. Sleator.
Sleator. Okay.
And it's about a bunch of kids who wake up in, in your typical, we don't know where we are thing. We can't remember anything from before. And now I can't explain what the ending of it is because I've kind of built it up. The concept has to do with how we learn ritual.
Okay.
And
There. Well, I'm saying it isn't necessarily an evil thing that people are doing. It's just
It's a
bad and kind of ugly. It's an ugly thing that people do.
It's a pattern-seeking animal thing to do.
Well, I would say it's not necessarily good or bad. It depends on the amount of it's usually fine if taken with a grain of salt. Because otherwise, if anything goes wrong, that has a lot of emotional context. But like so like my grandmother had polio. So when I was growing up, she used a walker, and then later on used a wheelchair. And my grandpa always stayed with her and did everything to support her. And so I guess I don't know, for some reason, I don't know if it's the way I was raised or the way my brain works, but I never understood why disability is viewed as bad on an instinctual emotional level. Like, if I work through things mentally, and I realize I still have ableist conditioning from society,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get rid of that. Being aware of it is the first step, but like it's not. It doesn't just immediately go away. But like it's so odd to me for the concept of. I never, on an emotional level, I just never understood the fear. Like, I realized we just talked about the fear and the aspects of it, and I mentioned my thoughts on it. I don't. I think my conscious brain shut off, and it's all instincts now, and I just can't think.
Yeah, there is roughly an idea that disability is one's own fault, no matter what. We get both the plus we get the extra bonus of people being all rah-rah about how brave and shit we are, and also the infantilizing of thinking we can't do anything.
Right.
Jensen, you haven't mentioned too much. Do you have ideas with relation to stuff? I don't want. I brought you on as a guest. I don't want to just like talk over you and
No,
have us
that's
all.
okay. Yeah, I have thoughts. Let's see, what can I say?
It's past the 1 minute and a half mark, so you can say swear words or anything that I think.
Okay. Cool. I don't know. I mean, I can talk about myself. I am a disabled person of color. I am originally from Puerto Rico. I'm 32 years old. I'm queer, pansexual, polyamorous. I live on my own, and I have a job I love. And what else? I think that's it for now. I'll let you guys talk.
Okay, this does bring me around to the Twitter fight going on because it's a thing.
Okay, what's the Twitter fight?
Okay, we all know Keppels had the swatting incident and stuff, and she was very instrumental in getting Kiwi Farms shut down. Yay, go Keppels. And the people who want to tear her down, I have no opinion on her. I've encountered her once in the wild before, prior to all of this, right? Have started circulating 3 tweets she did, which are getting all sorts of allistic people up in arms on our behalf. A lot of autistic people too, but hold on.
As someone who's not a fan of Keppels, yes, it's good that Kiwi. It's bad that she was swatted. It's good that aspects of her speaking out got Kiwi Farms shut down. That's Kiwi Farms was awful.
Well, since I can't find the original now because there's so much traffic, and my notifications are flooded.
This is why I stay away from Twitter drama sometimes, because it's usually complicated, and a lot of times the surface stuff is the annoying stuff that people are making big conclusions based off of.
Here's the first one, and we'll wait till we get. You can wait for context, or you can give me an initial, and I'll tell you what my thoughts are. I don't care if you like me or not. I live next to the train tracks. All I need to get pussy is to tell an autistic girl she can watch the trains go by at my place every few hours. And I'm better than you.
See, I'm
Hold on.
not.
Let me do the second one. I said you have to do the second one as well.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not autistic, but I will make you mac and cheese and let you info dump on me if you are.
What?
Yeah, that's mostly those tweets are weird, and on some level, it's just why. I mean, it like see from my perspective, there seems to, when you say you can always do something, it tends to imply that the other person is very simple in thought process.
See,
Which
this is. I have a takeaway from this, and it seems to be a little different.
Yeah, go ahead. This is no debate channel.
What both of those are saying is, I can get autistic girls by being nice and understanding them. It's not punching down at us. It's actually lifting us up as if we have autonomy in this thing.
Well, see, I just see like this. I see the train talk and I don't know what the mac and cheese thing was all about, but it I don't like mac and cheese, so this changes everything. I won't go there because I don't like mac and cheese. You can't get me with just mac and cheese.
Well, clearly you're not autistic.
Okay, her response to all of this kerfuffle. These are all adults. Being autistic does not mean you are permanently a child. I met a lot of autistic people who are more well-adjusted than me, and I'm not neurodivergent. And she's right. She's also marrying an autistic girl, so, you know. I honestly say...
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent... The problem is, on an instinctive level, I am always sus and but more than anything, I mean, that is a good the PR response. That is a decent PR response. I just...
Well, most of the holistic people who are getting mad about it are being really infantilizing, which doesn't help.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the problem with anyone. That usually is a problem with people getting angry without trying to understand it's like people fighting against racist stuff, but they don't understand their own racism, so they start using racist talking points to try to offend like black people or people of color or whatever, and it's very much missing the boat.
The first one I replied to was accusing her of rape for those tweets.
Yeah, see, that is infantilizing if you're accusing for those tweets, and that's kind of the thing is the majority of Keffels. There's stuff that Keffel says that I am not a fan of, but this is one of those things where people get angry over the stuff that are just minor things sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the people who are saying that made me angry.
Yeah.
Who were saying that made me angry when that they were saying that, because they're saying, yes, all autistic people are childlike, and it would be that if you offer them macaroni and cheese and let them watch the trains, they'll just be suckers for whatever else you want to do to them.
Admittedly.
And I'm like, that is problem thinking.
Trains are mesmerizing.
That's not what it's saying. It's basically, look, I understand you. I understand trans people. You don't. I can get trans people. Autistic people. You don't. I can get autistic tail.
Yeah. That is what they were trying to be saying. And the other person heard them saying, I can lure them in with these false things, and they're just suckers for it. And they think that autistic people can be lured in and are suckers for it. And that's
Yep.
Well, and that's the problem with any text-based thing. Can be read in different ways, and it's hard to make yourself clear over text. And it's technically everything is up to a certain amount of interpretation. But yeah, it's
okay. What I'm trying to say is, if some guy is giving advice and saying, I can just smear myself with mink urine and women will find me irresistible. And you go, okay, one, that's kind of schemy, but I don't think it's going to work. And somebody else is saying, why, that's just tantamount to rape. Women, of course, can't resist mink urine. They'll just be... And you go, what are you talking about?
that... Yeah. I think that sums up that whole Twitter situation. This is why I'm not on Twitter much.
Yeah, well, a new ableism just dropped. As I'm scrolling right now.
Oh no.
I was trying to find the specific tweets. The addicted to being sad, teenage girls with invisible illnesses known as spoonies post TikToks of themselves crying or in hospital to generate thousands of likes as experts raise concern over internet-induced wave of mass anxiety. Thanks.
Sorry, what? My brain is trying to process that.
I'll go slower. I'm sorry. I speak fast when I can.
It's okay. My brain is working slower tonight than it is some nights.
It's a headline from Daily Fail. Addicted to being sad, teenage girls with invisible illnesses known as spoonies post TikToks of themselves crying or in hospital to generate thousands of likes as experts raise concerns over internet-induced wave of mass anxiety.
Wow. That's just a lot to process. They've jammed a whole lot into those words.
Yep.
Yeah, ableism is definitely, yeah. That words, ableism.
Or there could be a rash of young women who are just going to the hospital so they can get more TikTok likes. I don't know.
I don't think that's I don't think that's the case. And also I question internet-induced anxiety given that the amount of poverty there is out there. It's one of those things where there's enough stuff that causes anxiety that's been happening at the same time that it's hard to find a causal relation. I mean, there's a lot of corollary things, but I don't know enough information to get rid of the variables or focus the variables enough to make a causal statement.
Trouble right here in River City.
Well, at least you can't. At least that wasn't. At least it's not. The site Kiwi Farms.
Yep.
At least that's gone. But that was its own messed up combination of ableism and transphobia, and basically anyone viewed lesser. And LGBT, just anti-LGBTQ, really. Along with if any disability or if you're too different in any way, shape, or form, then Kiwi Farms might be pissed off at you.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm glad Kiwi Farms is down. I realize that's only a temporary fix to the overall societal ableism that is far too prevalent, but
there is a good response to this that I liked. There's always been enough from, I should say the person. I can't figure out the person's name, so I'm not going to try. There's always been an element of the chronic illness community who insists only their illness is real and makes themselves feel better by claiming everyone else is faking. It's always the most privileged people in the community doing this. It's pathetic and low-key evil.
Yeah.
And then he said something completely batshit right after, which is sad.
Now I'm just curious.
No,
Because I like to make sense of I guess on some level I try to make sense of people, and even things that on the surface seem really atypical, I try to suss out like the root cause.
Oh, he goes on about how people who say that these illnesses aren't real must be paid by somebody.
Oh, yeah, no, and if it gets into conspiracy theory stuff is the problem is people are awful, but also the problem is there's far too many conservative Christian groups that do pay people to be awful.
Yes, but they often pay, if they pay at all, they pay for people to, or incentivize, I won't say pay for, because it's not quite that simple. Incentivize people who used to be, quote unquote, this thing to not be this thing anymore, and that our church, TM, cured it.
I mean, that's a factor, but also conservative Christians are have put a lot of money in the gender critical crowd, like the people paying, like there are financial incentives to pay for groups to be against people. So I can understand how someone would, what could drive someone to that level of conspiracy theory, but the problem is a lot of people also aren't getting paid. It's just the people making videos and stuff and speaking out much louder usually are the people who have financial interest, and even then it's not usually not, I assume it's not like a direct I'll pay you to say this exact thing. It's I'll fund you so long as you keep being an ass. I mean, it's not phrased like that, but like.
Well, you know, of course, I've heard how the diagnostic options now available is all just part of a conspiracy to siphon money off of the real working families.
In air quotes. As opposed to TM.
Yeah. And that kind of thing, which, I mean, that goes right along in the same box. I'm just saying. It's that there's a conspiracy out there to destroy the America of their mind.
Okay, but like I'm gonna randomly bring stuff. Look, my brain is going back to disability rights, and specifically my brain is on the problem of eugenics and aspects of medically assisted suicide, which in theory it's not a bad idea, but in practice is oftentimes, hey, oppressed disabled people, we'll let you die and we'll help you die.
Wow. Yeah,
like
that's what it's saying. It's saying if we don't diagnose the problems, then they aren't there. It's like saying, hey, if we just made bank robbery legal, we'd have a lot lower crime rate.
Well, yeah, but like the what was it? Because I follow I almost said never again action. That's a different thing. I follow. Not dead yet.
Yes.
And they did the last words of the first person euthanized in Italy, and it was legit just someone who became disabled and then couldn't deal with the lack of accessibility.
That's sad.
And, yeah, it was really sad. That was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was just, but it just emphasized what actually happens, and the fact that Canada is opening up euthanasia to people who just have any, like, they don't have to be in any life-threatening thing. They don't need any special doctor things. They just need to be effectively have a mental illness or whatever. I mean, that's the term that they would use. Basically neurodivergent. If you're neurodivergent in Canada, you can get euthanized. You can. Yeah, it's like,
that's problematical.
It is incredibly problematic, and that's the problem. Is a lot of the medically assisted suicide stuff leads to that. They say stuff like, yeah, if you're in horrible pain and you're in like a life-threatening, you're gonna die soon, why not die more peacefully situation, which is not a bad argument. But the problem is doctors are more willing to recommend the death of disabled people.
Yes.
And
that's a big issue. Yes, that's a problem. That's
yeah. And like,
I can totally understand somebody going, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. I can really understand somebody going, I'm willing to work and try and live as long as I can, but then there comes a point where I know what happens over the next 6 months. And I don't need to be here for each one of those stages. I think I'd like to leave now while I still have the ability to make choices for myself.
Yeah, and that's not the majority of euthanasia cases. That's a minority of the euthanasia cases, and that's the problem.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is, I understand that there can be real cases where you go, yes, absolutely. I mean, totally in favor of that, and I don't want to take it away from them as an option, but
there's so
to
many
be encouraging people to use euthanasia because they're neurodivergent, and society is having a hard time placing them within it. That's
wait, that was
horrible.
Oh my god. Was that your June 9th? I probably covered this. Did I cover this in the news? Was this when I came out? Oh my god. That's so awesome. I'm linking that. Because you wrote about it. That's awesome that you wrote an article for that. Just breaking stuff down. And I'll read it soon if I haven't read it already, which might be the case because I don't remember when I started the news show back up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's oh my god. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I threw that grenade on the fire.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just distracted by this article. I probably wait. There's still more show left. Wait. Just gonna leave that in the tab.
I think this definitely falls under the pursuit of happiness.
Oh, I did
think this
cover
is-
it on the news
definitely.
show? Okay, I guess I did cover your article. It was a few months ago, though. Because I cover, like, every not dead, almost every not dead yet article out there, because they're, like, monthly, or not monthly, sorry, they're weekly, but, like, you know, it's guaranteed important news.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I'm just geeking out. Okay, give me a second. I need to calm myself down. Words. Someone else say something quick while I calm myself down.
I'm just amazed at how well this plays right in with the pursuit of happiness and so on. This is so on the nose.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'll have to also add that to the just links on the episode page so
Yes.
people can have that specific link. I try to do that afterwards. I don't always remember to do that stuff, but I try. But yeah, no, doctor, like, there's this whole attitude of I'd rather die than be disabled.
Yep.
And that bleeds into medical communities. And it does not help that bleeds into medical communities, because then they're able to, it's oftentimes a lot of, okay, sure, we'll go through with eugenics if you're disabled, and a lot of actual argumentation for you not to die if you're non-disabled.
Yep.
I will say my doctor had to play therapist for me this week though, or this month, because at some point I just said, I'm just so tired of this. I'm just so tired of it. And she's like, you have a chronic condition. That's what you got. And will help, but there's nothing we can do. And yeah, I spent like 3 days in my room being unable to leave. Except to, go across the hall to the bathroom. Even that was hold it in as long as I can because I didn't want to try and make the trip. Sorry, that's a bringing things down, isn't it?
No, not really. There are a lot of circumstances that can. The thing is, there are circumstances that can put people in a situation where getting to the bathroom is difficult. When I had intramuscular breast augmentation surgery, so getting up to go to the bathroom, I needed help for like a couple days. But like, and I realize that's just a very minor thing in a lot of ways. But like, it's just life happens, and people shouldn't be ashamed of what they can and can't do during life. I mean, nobody is required to run a marathon to have a worthwhile life, or be an expert gamer, or amazing artist.
Yeah, it's okay. Now I'm bringing myself down. So,
Oh, don't bring yourself down. Be good to yourself.
Yeah. I'm actually doing okay today, which is good. The one of the reasons for me not participating in the show was basically I was stuck in bed most of the time for those couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for the week-long break, the first week-long, a couple weeks ago, I took a week-long break because I was getting non-verbal levels of stressed out, which is a particular brand of stressed out when I get non-verbal.
It wasn't stress. It was literally I couldn't move.
Yeah, which is, I'm just saying, like, you have your needs, and you should care for yourself. You know? I'm just saying there are a lot of reasons to take a week off, and that is valid.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm trying to, there's a nascent thought. I'm trying to work on how to express it. That physical independence isn't a prerequisite for, and I can't come up with the next, basically living life, so on. That isn't a requirement. And it seems that that's what people are getting confused on. They're thinking that without the one, you can't have the other.
Quite possible.
Yes.
Yeah, and everyone, I mean, there's so many,
Because that's what people, it's, losing of independence. It means that then then you go, that's just the loss of independence. That's,
yeah, because, well, I mean, the thing is, because of the lack of accessibility, it can very easily seem like a loss of independent motion. I have known people who use wheelchairs who that gives more freedom and control, like because there's a very problematic thing where people are like bound by wheelchairs, and it's not binding, it's a freeing tool.
Yes.
Is what I've tended to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a wheelchair user myself, and so without my wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to move around. So it's a thing that gives me freedom and independence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the I mean, that's one of the important things, and it's just because of all the barriers there, because like depending on where you go, depending on how you work, not all buildings are accessible. Most buildings are not very accessible. And it's easy for people to be afraid of like complete isolation. And some of that might also be projecting, because that might be what they would do with other people who, if they ended up using a wheelchair, or what they fear they might do. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's. I lost my train of thought. I feel like I was talking about something specific, and then I got.
It happens.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, like, with everything, it's a mixture of sometimes there's different ways to do the things that you like, and sometimes there aren't. And, but, like, you're not bound to only liking one thing, or at least...
Right.
So, like, I mean, One-Handed Mostly is a YouTuber who plays League of Legends. At least some of the League of Legends playing is through voice commands. And that is a way you can do that. And also does a whole list of like level of accessibility for games. I know plenty of or like, because everyone's got different amount of accessibility. Everyone's got a different amount of things that they can do. And there are things that people can't do. And I don't know, something. There are a lot of different people. Diversity is the strength of humanity.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Yep.
Yes. So say we all.
What's this turning into? Battlestar Galactica? That's all I can think of with the "so say we all" thing.
So mote it be.
So mote it be? Words.
So. Engage.
Engage with words. I can engage with words. I'm not always losing my train of thought. I don't have ADHD. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's just... it's... The most frustrating part of a lot of because accessibility helps everyone usually.
Everyone.
And so just it gets so frustrating when people don't want places to be more accessible.
Right.
It's like what was it? There's like an award ceremony or something. And, like, you know, getting onto the stage was not accessible. And it's just like, it would be really helpful for stages to be accessible so people could move equipment up and down it easier. Like,
Yep.
it's like there's so many things, or was it because some aspects of the ADA actually got implemented to some small degree with sidewalks, the 30-degree ramp or whatever, with sidewalks to get down to the street and back up, which people use all the time for strollers,
Right.
or whatnot. And I don't know, so much other stuff. Like, plenty of people get help just carrying stuff with accessible buses, which... It depends on the area, depends on the time, that level of accessibility. But I can see aspects, and it's just, I don't know. Words. Disability rights are human rights, and people should stop being dicks.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Our human rights.
Disability rights are human rights.
Yeah, it's like universal design is for everybody.
Yeah.
or everyone. Yeah, it's
Everyone benefits from accessibility.
yeah, and it just I don't know. I don't understand people sometimes. Humanity's weird.
Yeah. I can understand people who are there are some beautiful old buildings that are monstrously inaccessible. But my thoughts are that, one, I have seen people make them accessible in ways that did not destroy their architectural splendor. And if that isn't a possibility, if there really is no way, then simply don't house bastions of the government in them.
Right.
It's a museum, have it as a museum, and then take the governmental agencies that were in it and put them someplace else.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, even I think we just need ADA enforcement. Well, I mean, there's a lot more that needs to be done outside of social aspects but ADA enforcement would do something probably if there is actual enforcement of the ADA.
That's a fairly big if there. I mean, if the law was enforced, if the law that was passed was actually enforced, which it isn't for the most part, and you have to go through lawyers to sue a place to stand a chance at making it accessible.
Yeah.
well, it's been quite a while. I mean, it's well more than 30 years. It's, it seems to me that
making stages accessible is actually something I care about, as one might imagine.
that kind of thing, it's important. And because, that's a big part of being seen.
Right. Being seen as a leader, as someone who can contribute to society.
Yeah, but yes. Even contributing to society isn't even it's not even that is its own pressure, and it's good to do it if you can, and if you can't or you don't want to, you shouldn't be shamed for that either. But there's a lot of disabled people, and there's not a lot of disabled people being seen.
Well, that's a huge part of the problem, because it is part of how human beings are wired for empathy and empathy response. And there's a lot of psychological studies that prove this, that if you're raised and you don't see any Black people, you don't have an empathy response with Black people the same. There's a difference, and you start modeling them differently in your head. And then you go away to college, and there's lots of Black people, and you start modeling them differently in your head. You start having an empathy response with them. You start doing mirror neurons more in response. And consequently, you start modeling them as people, and they become people in your head. It's how we work. And if you don't have people, disabled people, out visible in the community, it's harder for people to understand that they're people.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and also asks an important question. Now, I don't have the authority for this, but M asks if she can enforce the ADA with hypothetical hammers and cattle prods. Unfortunately, I do not have the authority to give M the option for this, but I very much endorse M having this authority.
Yeah. Cattle prods is the gentle way to get it started anyway. Bodily autonomy, by the way, looking at that, I have not been watching. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Bodily autonomy. That physical independence is not required for bodily autonomy, but that self-direction, bodily autonomy covers part of it. That's part of what I want to be saying. But it's the self-determination.
Yes.
That's not a requirement for that, and that's there's a thing that everybody finds important that they feel that they're losing, and they're talking about losing bodily autonomy, meaning that they lose that, and they using words like dignity.
M says self-determination is related, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to have to work on this because there's got to be a way to express it that I'm going to be happy with. I think I've communicated the concept. I think we're all on the same page.
Well, having the words to describe things is really important for being able to understand what's happening and what you can or can't do about it.
Right.
And I feel like there's something else I was gonna bring up. Oh, myth of independence is important with one of the things that is the sort of myth of independence is usually what also adds to driving people. Like people, there needs to be a lot more of people working together in community.
Yeah, I agree.
That would help a lot to. It wouldn't necessarily always help with all aspects of disability visibility because of the lack of, like, I'm in an apartment that is incredibly inaccessible. I'm very aware of how inaccessible my apartment is. But like, so you're not gonna necessarily see. Well, obviously you couldn't get in and out of the apartment I live in with a wheelchair. That's not something that's realistically possible. But like, that isn't the only disability, and so that can have the option of opening up that conversation if people. If I stopped getting too scared to put a note on to try to set up a community with the apartment, wanted to do this for a while, and now I'm beating myself up. It's getting close to the end of the episode though, and so I'm going to use that as a distraction from me. Being harsh on myself. I don't know what order I normally do. Jensen, where can people find you, and are you working on anything in particular that you want to promote?
You can find me on Facebook at Jensen Caraballo. That's Jensen, Jensen. Caraballo, Caraballo, and you can find me on Twitter. And I'm not really working on anything in particular right now. I just started my job not too long ago, like on Tuesday. So I'm just getting oriented and finding out what I need to be doing. Well, I mean, I could talk about the Center for Disability Rights a bit.
Sure. Actually, that would be really good.
They are a nonprofit, community-based advocacy and service organization for and by disabled people. CDR began providing services and grew out throughout the 1990s. CDR works from a space of disability justice. We center Black, Indigenous, disabled people of color. One of our main issue areas is to end the horrific institutionalization of disabled people. An alarming number of disabled individuals continue to be institutionalized, where they are dying and being harmed at a higher rate than most people in our public systems. We work for the bodily autonomy of disabled people.
Okay. I will make sure to get that and your Facebook. I had I mostly had your Twitter and Instagram down there, so
Cool. Thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you for showing up. Perfect. You're the fast one. Where can people find you, and what are you working on?
I work on this, so and they can find me here, and and of course there's the Rumpus Room Discord and the Fluid Voice Discord, and if people at me in text, I will be responsive.
Christy, what about you? Where can people find you, and is there anything you're working on that you would like to promote?
Yeah, anybody wants to find me, just come to Buffalo and ask around. You'll find me quick. More seriously, I'm on Twitter at Christy L. Abbey, ChristylAbbey, all one word. And yeah, I'm still working on the book. I did some research last night, which I found fascinating. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I did talk about it elsewhere. So I am working on a book about 50s horror and crime books, and only peripherally about the whole problem around them. But I am specifically concentrating on things that were both in Seduction of the Innocent, which is a book, which, look it up, it's fascinating. And what's the Kefauver hearings in the Senate, in the House, sorry, both in the mid-50s. So I'm specifically going around all the stuff that's mentioned in there. Was my starting point.
Okay. And you can find me, Ozma In The Dark, on YouTube and Twitch largely. I am going to be, and here obviously I'm going to be doing I believe the final episode of the dreaded series of a whole video talking about how to write insanity or whatever, referencing Arcane, and it upsets me greatly. All of the video, it's all bad. It is so bad. But like, I mean, it's from a relatively big creator, and I just wanted to break down why I have problems with it, and the problems I have with it, and because I needed the hand-holding of chat to go through that video. But yeah, Remote Shelter News should be back up this week, and yeah, Twitch Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday streaming. Anyways, I believe that's it. Everyone, take care of yourselves really well. Your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. So, you know, do good by yourself. Right? Does that word right? Do good by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Do good and do good by yourself.
Yeah. In the pursuit of great, also do good. I'm not an Arcane fan, girl. I don't know what you're talking about. Bye.
Peace.